The Tirelocks battle station was no longer loud with commands or footsteps. Now it was quiet. Too quiet. The hallways that once echoed with alien voices were filled with silence. Lights flickered. Machines stuttered. And in the middle of it all, Ray Carter walked forward, slow, calm, and without fear. Behind her, the soldiers who had once laughed at her were now following without speaking. Not because they wanted to, but because they couldn't do anything else. Something had changed inside them. Their thoughts were no longer their own. They were afraid. Deep fear, a fear they could feel in their bones. Every step she took felt like a storm was coming, but it wasn't a storm from the sky. It was her. A technician ran to the main control room and sent a distress signal to the Tirelocks High Command. The signal said, "Emergency. Human weapon loose. Mental breach. We need help. Now." But there was no reply. Not because the fleet didn't care, but because they had already received Ray's warning. Hours before she walked out of her prison cell, she had spoken into a hidden channel. Earth had heard her, but so had others. Many in the Tirelocks fleet heard her voice. They felt something behind it, like pressure on their chest. After that, they didn't move. Ships stayed in orbit, waiting, silent. Inside the station, alarms blinked but made no sound. A strange glitch had turned off the audio. Cameras across the station kept recording, though. One camera, in the far corner of the command center, zoomed in slowly. It caught everything. Rai entered the room. She didn't break the doors. She didn't fire a single weapon. The doors simply slid open, as if they were afraid to stop her. She stepped in. Tirelocks officers stood frozen, backs straight, eyes wide. None of them reached for their weapons. They had tried before, and now their hands refused to move. In the center of the room, General Vorin, the same alien who once said he would shatter the will of the human cadet, was now on his knees. His breathing was fast. His armor was scratched. His hands trembled. He looked up at her like a man facing his final judgment. Rai stood in front of him. Her face was calm. No anger, no fear, only silence. "You said you'd break me," she said softly. He didn't answer. She took one step closer. Her boots echoed in the room. "But I'm still standing," she said. "You're not." Vorin looked down, unable to meet her eyes. Around him, screens lit up. They showed different parts of the station. Labs, hangars, control rooms. In every room, Tirelocks soldiers were sitting against walls, hands over their ears, crying. They were not hurt by weapons. They were broken from the inside. Their minds couldn't take the pressure she had returned to them, the same pressure they once tried to use against her. The AI system of the station, once loyal to the Tirelocks Empire, now acted differently. It showed her path. It opened doors. It had made a choice. Somehow, the AI had connected to her thoughts, and it liked what it saw. A human who never gave up. A mind too strong to break. Outside the station, the other alien fleets watched the cameras. Many species were watching. The feed had been hacked and sent across different military networks. Some leaders wanted to shut it off. Others couldn't look away. The footage showed the truth. The Tirelocks Empire, known for crushing weaker races, had failed. And not just failed, they had been brought to their knees by one young human. Back inside the station, Ray looked around the room one last time. She didn't need to say anything more. The silence was enough. The message had already been sent. As she turned to leave, a small red light blinked on the wall. A message from Earth came through. It was short. Reinforcements 3 minutes out. Ready for pickup. She didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She just kept walking. Behind her, no one followed now. The soldiers stayed on the floor. Some whispered. Some cried. But most just sat still, as if their minds had been turned off. The camera in the corner continued to record. It watched her walk through the hallway. It saw the broken soldiers. It saw the quiet walls. And when the video finally ended, it was sent across hundreds of star systems. After that day, stories spread like fire. Across the galaxy, people began whispering about her. Some called her a weapon. Some called her a ghost. But most used just one name, the Cadet. And in dark rooms around enemy war tables, powerful alien generals warned their people with the same line again and again. Do not test the will of a human cadet, especially not her. Because they knew she had never needed weapons. She only needed her mind. And that was enough to bring an empire to its knees. Hours before she entered the arena, Raya Carter sat in a cold, dark cell deep inside the Tarlox battle station. Metal walls surrounded her. There was no bed, no light, just silence and the steady drip of water from a leaking pipe. Her hands were chained, and her back leaned against the wall. She hadn't slept in days, but her eyes were sharp, awake, watching everything. The Tarlox thought she was broken. She had been captured during a failed mission. Her ship was hit, her team scattered, and she was taken alive. Since then, they had tried to break her mind. They shouted. They used lights, noise, strange smells. Some tried pain. Others tried lies. They told her Earth had fallen, that her people had surrendered, that she was the last. But she didn't believe them. She didn't scream. She didn't speak. She didn't even cry. She just sat still, thinking, remembering. Each time a guard walked past, she watched their steps, noted how many seconds it took them to turn the corner, noticed which ones were alert and which ones were bored. She learned the sound of each one's footsteps. She counted every meal, every movement, every change. Her mind didn't sleep. It calculated. In a control room far above her, Tarlox scientists were confused. They were studying her brain using a machine called the Echo Scanner. It read her thoughts, dreams, and memories. They expected fear, panic, but they saw something else. Flashes, sharp images, a battlefield with fire, a shadow moving through smoke, a voice, quiet, firm, repeating the same line, never break, never bow. They thought it was trauma, but it wasn't. It was programming, training. On Earth, years ago, Ray had been chosen for a secret human project, a test to build mental strength stronger than any machine. They trained her to hold pain, to use fear, to fight with the mind, not just the body. Only a few passed. She was the youngest. Now, sitting in that cell, she was not scared. She was waiting. Her body looked tired, but her mind was sharp like a blade. The more the aliens tried to push her, the deeper she went inside herself. They didn't understand. Most enemies thought pain was a weapon. But for her, it was just another tool. At shift change, 2 guards entered her cell. Their faces were covered by metal masks. One held a scanner. The other held a chain. Time for the arena, one said. She stood without a word. They expected her to resist, but she didn't. That scared them more than if she had fought. A silent prisoner is more dangerous than a loud one. As they walked her through the halls, alien workers stared. Some whispered. Rumors had already started to spread. Some said she killed a guard just by looking at him. Others said she was part machine. Most didn't believe it, but none wanted to find out the truth. They reached the prep room before the arena. There, a panel of Tarlox commanders sat watching her through a glass wall. One of them, a tall alien with silver skin and a long scar across his face, leaned forward. "She's not like the others," he said. Another commander laughed. "They all break. Just give her time." But General Voren shook his head slowly. "She's not just resisting. She's planning something." They all turned to look at her again. She just stood there, hands chained, face calm. Her eyes didn't move, but in her mind, the plan was already in motion. Back in her cell, hours ago, she had whispered something under her breath. Just one word. The Echo Scanner didn't understand it, but Earth did, a hidden code built into her training. It sent a signal, a warning home. Earth now knew she was alive and coming. She also knew something about the Turlocks. Their soldiers used a mental link for fast commands, like a weak hive mind. If she could tap into it, bend it back, even a little, she could break their lines from the inside. Now, in the prep room, she took one slow breath. The chains on her wrists felt loose, not because they were weak, but because she had learned how to shift her body just right. Just enough. The guards opened the door to the arena. She stepped in. Above, the commanders watched with smiles. They thought they were about to crush her spirit. But she wasn't the one being tested. They were. And she was ready. The arena was huge. Cold lights hung from the ceiling. The walls were metal, scratched, and marked from past fights. It smelled like oil, blood, and fear. The floor had old stains, some red, some green, some colors not from Earth. This was not a place to fight. It was a place to break people. Ray Carter walked in, chains still on her wrists. Her face didn't change. She had no armor, no weapons, just a simple prison suit and her mind. Above, alien crowds filled the stands. They cheered, hissed, and shouted in many languages. Some bet credits on how long she would last. Others just wanted to see a human fall. Cameras floated around, recording every second. This was a show for them. A game. But not for her. Across the arena, 3 alien warriors stepped out. Each one was twice her size. One had metal spikes on its arms. Another had thick armor grown into its skin. The last one had long claws and eyes that glowed. These were trained killers. They had fought in many wars. The crowd screamed their names. Ree didn't blink. A loud voice echoed. Begin. The 3 moved fast, not waiting, not holding back. One rushed at her from the front. Another circled from the side. The third jumped high, claws ready. But she was already moving. She ducked low, letting the first miss her. She kicked his leg as he passed, not to knock him down, but to test his balance. The second came from behind. She turned quickly and rolled under his swing. Her chains clanked, but she used them like weapons. She wrapped one around his leg and pulled hard. He fell. The third dropped from above. She stepped aside at the last second. His claws hit the ground. Sparks flew. The crowd went silent for a second. Then louder than before. They hadn't expected her to last even 10 seconds. General Voren watched from the control room. He leaned closer to the screen. His eyes narrowed. "She's learning," he said. The other commanders didn't agree. "She's just lucky," one said. "They'll crush her soon." But she wasn't lucky. Every move was planned. Every breath was part of the strategy. She had watched these fighters during training. She knew how they moved, how they attacked. Now she used it all. The first alien came again, faster now, angry. He punched with both fists. She dodged, then turned and hit him in the back of the knee with her elbow. He groaned and stumbled. The second grabbed a sharp pole from the arena wall. He swung hard. She blocked with her chains, twisted, and sent the pole flying from his hand. The third roared and came again, claws swinging wild. She jumped, spun in the air, and kicked him in the face. The crowd rose to their feet. But something else was happening now. Something strange. The guards watching from the lower halls started feeling lightheaded. One dropped his weapon. Another rubbed his eyes. "What's happening?" one said. Rai was doing more than just fighting. She had begun pushing out with her mind. Deep inside her training, there was a hidden skill, something she had never used before. A mental signal. A wave. Humans couldn't hear it, but Turlock soldiers could. Their minds were connected by weak links. And now she was pulling on those links like strings. In the arena, the second alien fighter suddenly froze. He looked confused. His eyes twitched. His mouth opened like he wanted to scream, but couldn't. Ree didn't touch him. He dropped to his knees. The crowd went quiet again. Some stood. Others stepped back. The first alien charged again, but slower now. She didn't move, just looked at him. His steps slowed. His hands began to shake. And then he stopped completely. He couldn't move. The third one tried to run at her from behind. She turned around and stared at him. He stopped too. One by one, the fighters fell without her needing to lift a finger. They weren't hurt physically. They were broken mentally. Their minds couldn't fight hers. The entire arena went still. In the control room, Vorin stood up. He understood now. She's not fighting with strength, he whispered. She's fighting with something else. Something we can't control. The commanders looked worried. One said, "Shut it down." But another shook his head. Too late. Everyone's watching now. The video feed had been hacked again. It was spreading across fleets, across star systems. Species all over the galaxy were now watching the human Cadet fight without weapons and win. And in that moment, many realized something terrifying. This human wasn't the weakest. She might be the strongest. And she had only just begun. The arena was silent. Not a single voice came from the crowd. The three alien warriors still lay on the floor, not dead, but unable to move. They stared into nothing, eyes wide, minds shattered. Rye Carter stood alone in the center. Her chains hung loose, her face calm, her breath steady. She hadn't even broken a sweat. Above, in the control room, alarms began to flash. Systems were failing. The camera drones in the arena started sparking. One fell from the air and crashed near Rhee's feet. She didn't flinch. Shut down the feed. A Tireloc's commander shouted. "It's not working," another replied. "Someone's inside our systems. They're sending the footage off-world." General Vorin's face tightened. She did this. That signal from her brain. It opened something. The images of Rhee's fight were already spreading. Across stations, across planets. Her calm face, the frozen warriors, the way she won without lifting a weapon. Species who once mocked humans were now silent. Some watched in fear, others in awe. Whispers began. What else are humans hiding? Inside the arena, the large gate opened. Guards rushed in, 20 of them, all armed. They expected her to run. She didn't. She just stood there and waited. The guards hesitated. Some looked at each other. None wanted to be the first to move. She took one step forward. Every guard pointed their weapon. She took another step, then stopped, and smiled. Suddenly, the lights above them flickered. One by one, they turned off. The arena dropped into darkness. Then, a soft sound filled the air. A hum, a deep, low pulse that vibrated through the floor. The guards looked around, nervous. One shouted, "What's going on?" But Rey already knew. Help was coming. Before her capture, she had used a code word. A single whispered signal sent through her body's implanted tech. Earth had received it, and now they were answering. From deep space, something fast was approaching the Tarlock station. A ship, silent, invisible, but full of power. Not a war fleet, just one stealth vessel, small, human-made, designed for rescue, built for speed and shock. In the station's command tower, red lights flashed. The Tireloc's crew shouted. Systems began to fail one by one. Weapons froze. Screens went black. Communication lines fell silent. "What's happening now?" One of the generals yelled. General Vorin stared at the blank screen. "The humans are here." Back in the arena, emergency lights kicked in. Red glow lit the floor. The guards had formed a circle around Rye, but they were shaking. One lowered his weapon. Another stepped back. She hadn't moved. She didn't need to. Her presence alone made them unsure. One of the commander's voices echoed from a speaker. "Cadet Carter, stand down. You are outnumbered." She looked straight at the camera and spoke clearly. "No, I'm not." At that exact moment, the station shook. A loud bang echoed through the walls. Something had hit the outer hull. Hard. In the lower levels, explosions rocked the metal. Earth's rescue team had entered. They weren't here to start a war, just to take back one of their own. The guards in the arena heard the sound and panicked. One ran. Another dropped his weapon. The rest followed. Ree didn't move. She just stood still, eyes closed, listening to every sound. Boots hit the arena floor minutes later. 5 human soldiers entered, fully armored, faces hidden behind sleek black helmets. One of them nodded at her. "We've come for you." She opened her eyes. "Took you long enough." "Orders were clear," the lead soldier said. "We weren't allowed to move until you gave the signal." "I gave it," she said. "Now let's finish this." The team surrounded her, not to protect her, but to walk beside her, like equals. On their way out, they passed the 3 alien warriors still lying on the ground. One of them looked up at Ray with fear. She stopped for just a second and looked down at him. "You were trained to fight with muscle," she said. "I was trained to win with my mind." And then she walked past him. Behind her, the cameras flickered back on. Someone in Earth Command was now broadcasting everything live. They wanted the galaxy to see it. Not to brag, but to send a message. Humans don't break. Not the ones like her. And this was just the beginning. The halls of the Tirelok station were filled with smoke and confusion. Warning sirens screamed from every wall. Lights flickered. Security doors failed. Panic spread like fire. But Ray Carter walked calmly through it all. Beside her were 5 human soldiers, moving fast and silent. Their black armor was marked with Earth's symbol. Every step was planned. Every hallway was cleared in seconds. They didn't waste time. They weren't here to fight a war, just to finish one. As they moved deeper into the station, Ree's face remained still, but her eyes were sharp, focused. She wasn't done yet. "There's still something I need to do," she said. The lead soldier looked at her. "Command says extraction now. The ship's waiting." "I know," Rai replied. "Give me 2 minutes." He paused, then nodded. 2 minutes. Rie turned and walked down a side hallway alone. No one tried to stop her. The door at the end opened with a hiss. Inside was the main war room. Cold, bright, full of large screens and alien tech, and in the center stood General Vorin, alone. He turned as she entered. "You," he said, voice full of disbelief. "You should be dead." She walked forward slowly. "You tried to break me. Every test, every punishment, every fight. You thought I'd snap. You're just a cadet," he growled. "A child." "No," she said, "I'm a soldier. And you trained me better than you realized." Vorin laughed once. "You came to kill me." She stopped a few steps away from him. "No, I came to show you what a mistake you made." She pressed a small button on her wrist. All around the war room, screens lit up. Footage played. Images of her locked in cells, tortured, tested, humiliated. Voices of Turlock's officers laughing. Plans being discussed to erase human cadets after they served their purpose. Documents marked classified. All of it recorded. All of it now broadcasting across the galaxy. General Vorin froze. "You hacked our system." "No," she said. "You trained me to understand systems. I just listened, watched, waited. And now, everyone else is watching too." From orbit to deep space, stations and ships received the broadcast. Allies, enemies, neutrals. The truth was no longer hidden. The Turlocks had been exposed. "They'll come for you," Vorin hissed. "They'll want revenge." "They'll come for you," she replied, voice calm. "They'll see what you really are." He stepped forward in rage. She didn't move. "You think this changes anything?" he yelled. "You think your little war will stop the Tarlock's empire?" She looked up at the camera in the corner, still streaming. "No," she said, "but now they know who we are and what we do when we're pushed. The soldiers arrived behind her. "It's time," the lead said. Ray turned to leave. Vorin stared at her, fists shaking. At the door, she stopped and looked back once. "You said I was weak," she said. "But look at you now. Standing in the dark, exposed, while I walk free." She left without another word. Minutes later, she was aboard the human vessel. The doors sealed shut. Engines roared. From the Tirelok station, she watched through a small window as the stars moved. Her hand rested gently on the glass. The mission wasn't revenge. It was proof. Proof that a human cadet could survive, learn, and return stronger than anyone expected. In the control room of the ship, the commander turned to her. "Your orders." Ray took a deep breath. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're coming home." But not quietly. And the station. She looked back at the view one last time. Let it burn. Behind them, small charges planted by the team lit up. One by one, explosions tore through the Tirelok station. Fire bloomed in silence, blooming across the stars. And across the galaxy, species whispered one new phrase. "Do not test the will of a human cadet, especially not her." The human ship sailed through the darkness of space, moving quickly, heading back to Earth. Rye Carter stood at the window, watching the stars pass by. The Tirelok station was now nothing but space debris, floating in pieces. Its lights had gone out forever. The galaxy had witnessed what she did. And now, they would never forget. Behind her, the crew moved silently, working. They knew the mission was over. But for Rye, it wasn't just about the mission. It was about something deeper, something that had burned inside her since the first day she'd been captured by the Turloks. She wasn't just surviving. She was changing everything. Rye had sent a message, but not just to Earth. She had sent it to the entire galaxy, to every species that thought humanity was weak, fragile, or easy to crush. She'd shown them what one human could do when pushed to the edge. One cadet, one human. And the Tirelok's empire had learned the truth. They were not invincible. She turned away from the window as the ship's commander stepped beside her. He didn't speak at first. There was no need. Finally, he broke the silence. "You did it. You changed everything." Ree didn't smile. She didn't need to. "We did it," she corrected him. "This wasn't just me." He nodded. "But it was your will, your strength. The galaxy is never going to look at humanity the same way again." She glanced out the window one more time. The stars seemed to shine brighter now. Maybe it was her imagination, or maybe the galaxy was finally starting to understand that Earth wasn't a place to be underestimated. The ship's engines hummed louder as they passed through the outer layers of Earth's atmosphere. It wouldn't be long before they landed back home, back where she belonged. But Ray wasn't thinking about that. She was thinking about the future of humanity. They had just shown the galaxy what humans could do, and they would never go back. The Turloks had tried to break her. They had tried to destroy everything she believed in. But all they had done was awaken something far greater, a message that would echo through the stars for generations to come. The sound of her boots echoed down the hallway of the ship as she walked toward the command center. One of the crew members looked up at her. "The transmission is going out to Earth Command." She gave a short nod. "Good. Let them know we're back." As she spoke, the final piece of her plan clicked into place. The message would go out to every fleet, every station. Earth's people would know what had happened. The galaxy would know. The fight wasn't over. It had only just begun. When the door to the command center opened, the ship's captain stood, watching her approach. "You've done more than we asked," the captain said, "and you've earned the respect of an entire galaxy." Rai stopped in front of the captain, her face set. "Respect is earned by more than words." The captain raised an eyebrow. "And what now?" Rai smiled. "Now we wait. Earth's warships will be ready when the Tirelocks come. But we won't be waiting in fear anymore. We'll be waiting for the next fight." The captain seemed to understand. giving her a small salute. "Whatever happens, Cadet Carter, we'll stand together." Ree didn't need to reply. She just turned and walked toward the bridge, ready for whatever came next. Her mission was far from over. But now, the galaxy knew. Do not test the will of a human cadet, especially not her. And across the stars, the message was clear. The humans were no longer the underdogs. They were a force to be reckoned with.